This is the Biz News Podcast, one-on-one conversations with experts in business and personal development.
Artificial intelligence, also called AI, lacks consciousness, self-awareness, emotions, and subjective experiences, all of which are fundamental aspects of religious belief. Well, so says the AI platform ChatGPT when asked to write about artificial intelligence and religion. But what does a human religious scholar and entrepreneur think? We talked with Philip Blackett, an author, consultant, and entrepreneur who's previously worked for Bank of America, FedEx, Goldman Sachs, and even Chick-Fil-A, and has his Masters of Divinity degree from Southern Baptist Theological Seminary. Philip, you've had a remarkable career in corporate America, and you have also had a remarkable career in religion. How does religion affect your career and as you developed it over the years?
Yeah, so I think it's a great question, Doug. I think when it comes to business, like we deal with people, right? And what makes people who they are is oftentimes their backgrounds, their beliefs, their worldviews, their past experiences, their families, their major influences in their lives, and that sort of thing too. And for a lot of people, religion could be a significant influence on his or her life. And so I think for me, when I think about that, how do I integrate my faith into my business? One, it's a significant part of as far as what makes me who I am. You know, who I am, how do I treat people? What's my purpose as far as why I'm here, working here with you? And really just kind of understanding that. And at the same time, also understanding that that plays a role in terms of, the type of influence and impact I want to have on other people. Not necessarily trying to recruit people, but more so as far as like helping people understand, like, and this is what makes Philip, and that's a good thing.
Indeed, that is certainly a good thing for all of us. But did you ever find that religion and corporate development were at odds with one another? And if so, how did you resolve those conflicts?
So for me personally, I didn't, because I think the keeping the main thing as far as like what was my job to get done when it comes to like corporate and business development is to help bring more business for the company. Um, just being clear on that. And I think that if my if my job was something else, then I would focus on that job in particular. So I didn't see any sort of disconnect or conflict there. I think it was more so just like, hey, like, my religion, my faith, it makes me who I am and it influences how I go about the job. But my job is still to get the job done too.
I would imagine many of our listeners and viewers are wondering, what was that job or jobs? Tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah. So background for me, it can be pretty extensive. So I look at it in the sense that, I was born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee. So I'm a Southerner at heart. Um, I went to school in Chapel Hill in North Carolina, majored in political science and economics, then moved up to New York City, worked on Wall Street for a little bit, worked in corporate America, done some entrepreneur things here and there. Later went to business school at Harvard, and then went to seminary during the pandemic while I was running a company, and basically got my Master of Divinity degree there. And so I think after that, now, about to be 40 later on this year, been married for 8 years, been a father for 7 years. You're just at a point now where you're just thinking to yourself that second half of your life, how do you want to have the most significant positive influence and impact on others, whether it's on people or on businesses themselves?
And so, what do you see as that second half of your life?
The second half of my life is about what I would say is sharing a lot of what I've learned during the first half to help benefit and bless those, either personally or professionally. So I think part of it is the sense that, hey, like this year, for example, I've written 6 books, and a couple of them are focused on artificial intelligence. One's focused on how can we disagree with others without being disrespectful. So focusing on those two, for example, those are two big topics that for a lot of businesses um, can be very significant as far as how their people are, how their teams are in this new age of AI and that sort. and also in the more polarizing society we're in as well. So really kind of focus on how can I help benefit businesses with what I've known, and be able to do that through speaking, consulting, um, authorship as far as the books, and however way possible I can be of help going forward.
At this point, let's give our listeners and viewers a way to get a hold of you, a website.
Sure. So, for me, my website is philipblackett.com, PhilipBlackett.com. And you can also look me up on Amazon for any of the 6 books that I have written. Just look up my name, Philip Blackett, and you'll be able to see the 6 books, including Disagree Without Disrespect, How to Respectfully Debate with Those Who Think, Believe, and Vote Differently from You.
You have opened the door to a topic that is one of our favorites, and that's artificial intelligence and what might be down that particular road. How do you see AI and religion coexisting?
Well, I think with AI and religion, I think is really comes down to ethics, right? It's something where AI itself is a technology that isn't inherently good or bad. It just depends on the person that uses it. A good example of that would be, the butter knife in your kitchen, right? Depending on the person, the butter knife is a great useful tool to help spread butter and strawberry jelly on your favorite piece of toast in the morning, right? In the hands of the wrong person, that butter knife is now a weapon that can inflict serious harm or kill somebody, right? So I think a similar vein here when it comes to AI, it's only as powerful, good or bad, when it depends on who is actually controlling it, who's actually working with it. And I think with regard to religion, it's the thought of, okay, once again, how is that influencing or impacting the person controlling AI in terms of what they want to get out of it for good or for bad?
Should AI then be regulated, much as the broadcast industry is regulated in this country?
So that's dependent on who's regulating it, because once again, you know, regulation is only as good as those who are actually doing the regulating, right? So that could be the sense where you can think about, okay, who are the people regulating? What are their intentions? What are their motives with regards to artificial intelligence? So I think that, we want to keep it in mind that, hey, absolutely, we want to have some sensible guidelines and guardrails with regards to artificial intelligence, so it doesn't do more harm than good. At the same time, we also need to strike the right balance to make sure it doesn't hamper or restrict the creativity, the innovation, and the resourcefulness that AI can do to really expedite the productivity of our businesses and help them become more profitable, to serve more people well, and also the personal benefits as well of using AI in our personal lives.
Philip, you mentioned you're a father. Now, suppose your child comes up to you and says, Dad, what should I know about AI? How should I prepare myself? What do you tell them?
Well, the good news, Douglas, is that my children are 7 years old. And so there's a very limited scope of where I think AI could be potentially helpful. And for them, it's more so of, asking Alexa to play their favorite, bedtime song. Right. So I think keeping it age appropriate and being mindful as far as like where you want to go from there. And then just also understand as my kids get older, then yeah, I want to be someone that they can come to and we can come up with age appropriate, uses of AI and the right AI tools for them to use as they get older. So concerned about what's happening in schools with regards to AI, you say?
Right.
So I think I don't know much about how every school is using AI. However, I would say, Douglas, that, one of the things that comes up top of mind for me is the fact that because of generative AI, a lot of schoolwork can be done very quickly by students. And it clearly is not coming from their own minds. Right. And so for me, I think I tip my hat off to teachers on this because um, the level of, lack of a better word, watchfulness that they're going to have in their classrooms to make sure that Johnny is actually submitting something that he didn't just get off of generative AI and called it is his own work. Like he may have put the prompt in to get the paper done on Julius Caesar, but whether or not that actually was him actually sourcing that work or writing it himself, like this is something where, when I was growing up, Douglas, it's like there was a skill set to be learned as far as how to be a good writer. And when you learned it, you took pride in how much time it took you to learn how to write well. Nowadays, um, anybody could write as well as I could, and much quicker without any sort of effort on their end now. And so when you have a lot of people writing like Shakespeare in fifth grade, that's where you have to be a little more concerning as far as like, okay, how much of this is them, the student, and how much of it is AI?
You mentioned writing, and you mentioned that you wrote, if I understood the answer correctly, 6 books in a year. What? Is that correct?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Well, I think when you have enough time to get your thoughts together and you put in the time on nights and weekends to not only write them out, but to proofread them, to make sure they sound like they make sense to somebody reading it for the first time, you can get a lot done. So I'm a type of person that likes to batch time together in terms of having big blocks of time reserved for me to just really focus on one particular book to get it written out the first draft, and then I'll do it for the next book and then the next book and the next book. And once that's completed, I'll batch the same sort of time to go about editing and revising the drafts, until you get to the point where once you get to the stage where you can actually publish them and start promoting them, you get to that point where I'm at now, where it's more about promoting and sharing the good news about these books, um, after taking the time to write them.
The promotion is probably harder than the writing for some people.
Yeah, I think so, because I think part of what goes with that, Douglas, is promotion goes beyond just announcing it to people on social media and getting the initial likes and comments and saying, okay, my job is done. I think a lot of it is a ongoing daily effort to share with as many people as possible what you've done that can be of benefit to them. And that's something that many people, many authors don't have the stamina or the desire to do. And that's why they often either hire help for them to do it for them, or be content with saying, hey, I did my book, I promoted it, next month I'm on to something else.
What would you like to add that we have not had a chance to talk about?
So I think one thing that comes up to my mind is I know AI is a very popular topic to talk about with regards to business. Another topic that comes up, it stems from the book I mentioned before, is the thought that, the importance of having diversity of thought in our businesses, in our organizations, in our families, in our communities, where it's not enough to just have an opinion on a certain issue, but more importantly, how do we engage with one another, especially if we have different points of view? And how do we do that in a way that's healthy, that's respectful, and that's productive to help us better connect with one another and to find the best solutions possible, especially from a business context that can help move the team and the organization forward?
And do you have the answer to that question? Because I think about 10 billion people would like to use it.
Well, it's in my book, Disagree Without Disrespect: How to Respectfully Debate with Those Who Think, Believe, and Vote Differently from You. Where in that book, I basically outline a simple 5-step framework where people can engage with one another that had different points of view, be able to hear them out, understand the issue at hand, focus on the issue, not taking things personal, not engaging in name calling, but ultimately try to focus on the merits of the issue. And essentially, how do you continue to build the relationship between the two people debating in a way where it doesn't come off as disingenuous, but as also one that helps build the relationship forward where you can see each other working together, regardless of the outcome of the debate.
You've been listening to the Biz News Podcast. We welcome your input. Send your email to editor@biznews.com. That's bizgnus.com. Thanks for listening.